Hello comrades! In this quick video, I want to share 5 things you don't expect to see in the US when you first move here. Now, this is going to cover our overall topic of American business culture. How? Well, I'm a firm believer that companies are people. And so with that logic, people don't buy from companies, they buy from people. That's why I'm absolutely certain that these 5 points are going to not only help you understand American culture a little bit better, but also improve your business relationships with the US clientele. And the first item is about work and life balance. There's a notion that Europeans work to live and Americans live to work. That is true. However, it's important to note that Americans spend a lot of time with their coworkers, so they want to make sure they enjoy it. That means that the goal here is to find what you enjoy doing and the team you enjoy doing it with. And that by itself is a quest of self-discovery. As a result, however, if you end up finding such an environment, you will never have to work another day in your life. Next up on the agenda, small talk. Some say small talk comes from the Anglo-Saxons culture, where it's considered rude not to have a quick talk about the common things, like the weather, for example. European, most specifically English roots of many Americans shape the culture of today's communication. So it's simply a way to be polite when you're asked about the weather or talk a bit about your favorite sports team or a music band. This is where we get to the next point: rules and regulations. This is where there's no gray area. Everything that has to do with rules, as well as your personal rights in the States, is very black and white. So before you think that parking meter in the middle of nowhere is unattended, or that you won't get pulled over after rolling the stop sign, I'd suggest to think again. Not to mention the deadlines for certain official document submissions, such as tax forms. By the way, that's where the word deadline comes in and becomes just as vital in business matters. The next thing I want to talk about is stark differences between ethnic communities. The US is often called a melting pot due to its incredible variety of cultures and ethnicities. Due to American freedoms of speech and expression, however, these cultures are free to express themselves in a way that, as the previous point suggested, doesn't break any law. So when you're working with Americans, be sure to expect and be sensitive to the differences of others. I think that many assume there's some unified American person out there who is more or less the same as other Americans. I think that notion comes from the fact that in the post-Soviet countries, for example, there was an ongoing project of creating a Soviet man. So the subconscious logic here is quite understandable, actually. Needless to say, in an individualistic, capitalist society of the United States, everyone is free to be just the way they are. And that means you as well can find that identity that will differentiate you from others. And the last item on today's agenda is the English language. As you know, I do classes on business English specifically to cover this foundation in communication with the US. And the more of these I do, the clearer it gets to me that American English, and more specifically American business English, is way different than the one you probably studied at school. Let me give you an example. In American business English, they use a lot of terminology and phrases from most popular sports in America: baseball and American football. I actually did a separate video on those baseball expressions before. They also hardly ever use very proper British words that they teach us here in Europe, for instance, such as devoted. Oh, and don't forget about spelling. The main difference is that British English keeps the spelling of words it has absorbed from other languages, mainly French and German, whilst American English spellings are based mostly on how the word sounds when it's spoken. So there you have it. 5 top things to expect when you either work or visit the States. Hope this was useful. Subscribe, like, and see you in the next one.